Niwo, my brothers and sisters, hear me now. This is Africa Rising Now, the gathering place where we do not whisper about destiny, we declare it. For generations, Africa was spoken of in terms of poverty, dependence, and delay. But a new voice has entered the stage, a voice that does not beg for permission, a voice that builds. We turn our eyes to the heart of West Africa, Burkina Faso. Once written off as a forgotten land, now daring to rise with a vision bold enough to shake a continent. And at the center of that vision stands the Burkina Faso president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Not a man of empty speeches, but a man of action, who has set in motion 10 mighty projects to redefine the future of his nation, from a nuclear plant to a gold refinery, from 50,000 kilometers of roads to a satellite that touches the heavens. This is not the Africa of delay. This is the Africa of deliverance. Before we walk this road together, I invite you, subscribe, ring the bell, and share this message. For every voice lifted makes the chorus stronger, and Africa Rising is a covenant we keep with history. My brothers and sisters, let us mark the day, September 15th, the year 2025. A date that history will remember not as an ordinary turning of the calendar, but as the day a small landlocked nation dared to proclaim, "We will rise, we will build. We will not wait another generation for light to shine upon our people." On that day, the Burkina Faso president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, unveiled what no African leader before him had ever attempted. 10 mega projects worth billions, conceived not as scattered monuments, but as one integrated vision of national transformation. And he began with the boldest of them all, the nuclear power plant. The first pillar, fire of the atom. Think of it, family. Africa has been rich in uranium, yet poor in electricity, rich in resources, yet dim in the night. For decades, the story was always the same. Our raw materials exported, our needs neglected, our people left waiting. But on June 21st, 2025, a new covenant was signed. Burkina Faso, hand in hand with Russia's Rosatom, committed to build the continent's first indigenous nuclear power plant. Not a dream borrowed, but a project owned. This is more than energy. This is sovereignty. Only 21% of Burkina Faso's people have electricity today. Children study by candlelight, hospitals run short of power, factories stall before they begin. But with nuclear fire, the nation secures complete energy independence, enough to light homes, power industries, and even supply neighboring lands in the alliance of Sahel states. And hear this, it will not be a gift dropped from above. The agreement includes technology transfer, training young Burkinabe engineers, building human capacity so that the knowledge, the skill, the very keys of the atom rest in African hands. This is history, my brothers and sisters. Africa's first domestically controlled nuclear program, a beacon not of fear, but of progress. The second pillar, gold in our own hands. But Traoré did not stop with fire. He turned to treasure, the gold that flows beneath Burkina Faso soil. For years, 57 metric tons of gold have been pulled from the ground each year. And yet, how much of that wealth stayed in the nation? How much built schools, hospitals, or homes? Too often, the gold was exported raw, refined abroad, and sold back at tenfold value, while the people remained poor. On July 9th, 2025, Captain Traoré broke that chain. He laid the foundation stone of Burkina Faso's first national gold refinery complex. This refinery, capable of processing 400 kilograms daily, will keep billions in revenue within the borders of the nation. It will create jobs, 5,000 livelihoods tied not to foreign companies, but to Burkinabe hands. It will establish a national reserve vault, a sovereign treasury of gold to guard the future. And listen to the president's words, family. Only the wealth of our land should build what will protect that wealth. That is not just economics. That is philosophy. That is a theology of sovereignty. Security will guard it day and night. Technology will refine it to the highest standard. And for the first time, Burkina Faso will no longer hand its treasure to the middlemen of the West. It will refine, certify, and export directly, standing tall in the marketplace of nations. A new pattern of development, Look at the pattern, my brothers and sisters. First, the power plant, energy to fuel the factories, then the gold refinery, wealth to finance the projects. This is not chaos. This is design. This is leadership that thinks not in slogans, but in systems. While critics sneer, calling Traoré just another military man, the evidence stands like concrete in steel. And so I ask you, if a leader can begin with fire from the atom and treasure from the earth, what then will follow? If energy and gold sovereignty are only the beginning, what comes next will shake the very ground beneath West Africa. Stay with me, for the vision is just unfolding. My brothers and sisters, if the atom gave fire and the refinery gave treasure, then the next stones in this foundation are the cement, the roads, and the runways. For a nation cannot rise on energy alone, nor on gold stored in vaults. A nation rises when its people can build, when its workers can move, when its land is stitched together by the hands of its own children. The third pillar, cement for a new era. On March 20th, 2025, the ground shook not from bombs or thunder, but from progress. In partnership with Chinese engineers, President Traoré inaugurated the Sisino Mega Cement Factory. Here are the numbers. 2,000 tons of cement produced daily, 750,000 tons annually at full operation, expansion already planned to reach 1.2 million tons each year. This is not charity. This is not dependency. This is investment. With 26 billion CFA francs poured into the project, equivalent to nearly 43 million US dollars. And the workforce? Not foreign contractors flown in, but Burkinabe youth. 100 permanent jobs and hundreds more seasonal. Cement, my family, is not just powder. It is possibility. It is schools, homes, factories, bridges. It is sovereignty in stone. For too long, African nations have imported the very material with which to build their future. Now Burkina Faso makes its own, with its own raw materials, with its own trained hands. The fourth pillar, roads of connection. But cement without roads is a body without veins. So Traoré launched what he himself called the most ambitious road construction program in African history. 50,000 kilometers. Yes, hear me again. 50,000 kilometers of new roads by 2029. Not built by foreign armies of machines. No, built by 900 Burkinabe-operated construction vehicles. Built by local engineers trained and empowered to shape the land they call home. Imagine it. Villages once cut off from markets now linked. Children in remote areas riding to schools. Mothers reaching hospitals in hours instead of days. Farmers carrying their harvest to cities without losing half to dust and distance. And more than that, these roads are not only national, they are regional, tying Burkina Faso into the alliance of Sahel states. Highways stretching to Mali, Niger, Côte d'Ivoire. Trade flowing across borders without begging passage through colonial channels. This is more than infrastructure. This is liberation on asphalt. The fifth pillar, wings of the nation. But a landlocked nation cannot rise on roads alone. It must also lift its eyes to the skies. And so, northeast of Ouagadougou, Traoré accelerated the completion of Dancine International Airport, a $200 million investment, with a 4,000-meter runway capable of hosting the largest aircraft in the world. Picture it, planes from Moscow, Beijing, Dubai landing not in Western-controlled hubs, but in a sovereign West African gateway. Cargo facilities ready to move Burkinabe goods across oceans. A modern terminal welcoming travelers, investors, and tourists. The jobs created number in the thousands. The impact touches every sector: aviation, tourism, trade. The very map of West Africa is being redrawn, with Burkina Faso as a hub, not a hinterland. The reactions, east and west. And here, family, is where the world begins to take notice. Russia and China see partnership, technology transfer, mutual benefit. The West, they frown, they whisper, they question. How can a small land once dependent now build without their approval? How can a nation they wrote off as poor become a center of cement, roads, and airways? Some call Traoré reckless, some call him naive. But the evidence speaks louder than their doubts. Concrete is being poured. Asphalt is being laid, runways are open, and the people are not waiting for commentary. They are driving on new roads. They are working in new factories. They are watching planes rise into the African sky. The pattern of integration. See the vision, my brothers and sisters. Nuclear power feeds the factories. Gold revenue funds the projects. Cement builds the structures. Roads connect the people. Airports connect the world. This is not a man scattering seeds in the wind. This is a leader planting a garden with order, with roots, with design. And already the world must admit, in 3 years more has been built than in decades of broken promises. If roads and runways stitch a nation together, what then of the lifeblood, the hospitals that heal, the waters that sustain? Stay with me, for the next chapter touches the very breath of the people. My brothers and sisters, if cement builds walls and roads connect cities, it is health and water that keep a people alive. For what good is progress if children fall sick without care? What good is industry if the people thirst? And so Captain Traoré turned his vision not only to power and gold, not only to roads and runways, but to the very body of the nation. The sixth pillar, healing in our own land. In the city of Bobo-Dioulasso, long called the cultural heart of Burkina Faso, rose a new foundation, not of commerce, but of compassion. Traoré laid the cornerstone of West Africa's most advanced university hospital. Mark this, family. For the first time, Burkina Faso will not send its sick across borders seeking care in foreign lands. For the first time, a mother will not need to beg for visas to treat her child. For the first time, the cure will be found at home. This hospital is more than a building. It is a revolution in medicine. Regional medical centers serving not only Burkina Faso, but the Alliance of Sahel states. Medical school expansion, training African doctors to serve African patients. Research laboratories devoted to the diseases that afflict African bodies, not forgotten in Western textbooks. Partnerships with Russian and Chinese institutions, sharing technology, advancing knowledge. And beyond the technology, there is the symbol, health sovereignty. No longer will Burkina Faso export its sick and import its cures. The healing of the people will be by the people, for the people. The seventh pillar, water for the thirsty. But health cannot survive without water. And in Ouagadougou, the capital swelling with new growth, the old Ziga Dam could no longer quench the thirst of millions. So Traoré launched the Ziga 2 water project, delivering 135,000 cubic meters of clean water every single day, enough for over 1 million people. Pipelines run underground. Treatment plants rise beside the reservoir. New intake structures draw life from the waters. This is not charity. This is engineering. This is survival turned into sustainability. Consider it, my family. Water for homes, water for factories, water for schools, water for hospitals. And beyond today, plans for future expansion, for climate adaptation, for regional water sharing agreements. For water is more than a drink. It is the bloodstream of urban growth. It is the shield of public health. It is the foundation upon which every other pillar must rest, the pain of the past. Now let us pause. Let us look back with sober eyes. For decades, Burkina Faso, like so many of our nations, saw governments come and go. Promises made and broken. How many times were hospitals pledged but never built? How many dams announced but never finished? How many leaders spoke of health for all while the people buried their loved ones too soon? It is here, in the building of a hospital and the flowing of clean water, that the contrast cuts deepest. 3 years of focused leadership have done what 30 years of speeches could not. Yes, it stirs pride, but it also stirs regret. Regret for the children lost to preventable disease. Regret for the women who walked miles with empty buckets. Regret for the wasted decades when Africa was told to wait. The turning of the tide. But we do not linger in regret, for regret without resolve is despair. Instead, we take this lesson. When leadership aligns with vision, even the poorest nation can rise. Bobo-Dioulasso University Hospital stands not only as a place of healing, but as a school of hope, where young African doctors will write a new chapter in medicine. Ziga 2 flows not only with water, but with dignity, quenching the thirst of a nation long denied. Together they form a message. The health and the thirst of the people will no longer be ignored. If health and water secure the body, what new power shall move the wheels of tomorrow? Stay with me, for the next chapter reveals machines of a new age, vehicles without petrol, satellites without borders. My brothers and sisters, the body may be healed and the thirst may be quenched, but a nation that would rise must also move. It must not only walk, it must run. It must not only reach across deserts and rivers, it must reach for the very heavens. The eighth pillar, wheels of a new age. In the factories of Burkina Faso, something unprecedented has begun, the birth of a domestic electric vehicle industry. Think of the significance. For decades, Africa has been chained to imported petrol, forever at the mercy of global oil markets. But here, under the leadership of the Burkina Faso president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a new horizon opens. Vehicles powered not by fossil fuels, but by solar-fed batteries manufactured with African labor, designed for African roads. This is not just technology. This is independence. No more dependence on imported cars, on costly fuel. Instead, Burkina Faso builds its own industry, creating jobs, reducing pollution, and pointing the continent toward a cleaner future. And imagine the export potential. Electric vehicles rolling across the Sahel into Mali, Niger, Côte d'Ivoire, an African automotive hub where once there was none. The ninth pillar, eyes in the sky. Yet Traoré's vision did not stop at the ground. It lifted upward into the skies. Burkina-Sat-1, the nation's first satellite, was launched to orbit. Consider this miracle. A land once dismissed as poor now speaks with the stars. This satellite is not a toy, not a symbol. It is a tool. Telecommunications, bringing signal to rural villages. Agricultural monitoring, guiding farmers with real-time data. Disaster management, tracking floods and droughts. Education and research, building a generation of African scientists. And mark this well, control of the data rests not in Washington, not in Paris, not in London, but in Ouagadougou. For too long, Africa's skies were monitored by foreign satellites, its information filtered through foreign channels. Now Burkina Faso claims its own vision, its own sovereignty in the realm of space. The world watches. And what does the world say? In Beijing and Moscow, there is applause. Partners pointing to proof that Africa can master advanced technology. In Washington and Brussels, there is concern, questions whispered in policy rooms. If Burkina Faso can build this, what might Nigeria, Ghana, or Kenya achieve? For the truth is plain, these projects are more than national milestones. They are a continental challenge to the old order. They declare, Africa will not forever be a consumer. Africa will be a creator. The horizon expands electric vehicles on the roads, satellites in the skies. This is no longer survival, my family. This is vision. This is Africa entering the 21st century, not as a beggar, but as a builder. But beyond roads and reactors, beyond satellites and cement, lies the heart of a nation's soul. Stay with me, for the final chapter reveals the legacy of a revolutionary and the covenant between past and future. My brothers and sisters, roads and reactors may power a nation, satellites may lift its eyes to the sky, but no people can rise without memory. For a house without foundation will crumble, and a nation without roots will be blown by every wind. The 10th pillar, a mausoleum of memory. And so Captain Traoré turned to the final work of his vision, the building of a grand mausoleum to Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary father of modern Burkina Faso. This is no ordinary monument. It is a complex where history is preserved and where the youth of tomorrow will learn. Within its walls, a museum tells a story of Sankara and his 12 companions, their struggle, their sacrifice, their dream of a self-reliant Africa. There is an educational center teaching Pan-African values. There is a cultural venue hosting national celebrations, binding a people together in pride. And above all, there is honor. Honor for the man who once declared, "He who feeds you controls you." Honor for the vision that planted seeds of self-reliance, seeds that Traoré now waters with the works of his own hand. Continuity of a revolution. This mausoleum is not the end of a project. It is the soul of a movement. It reminds the young that they walk a path blazed by those who came before. It teaches the world that Africa's revolutions are not forgotten. They live, they guide, they inspire. By raising Sankara's memory into stone, Traoré declares, "We are not imitators of foreign models. We are heirs of our own prophets." And this family is perhaps the greatest project of all. Not energy, not gold, not concrete, but identity. The road ahead. What then lies before us? A Burkina Faso where power flows not from foreign grids, but from nuclear fire owned at home. A Burkina Faso where gold no longer escapes, but is refined and stored in national vaults. A Burkina Faso where roads, hospitals, and satellites are the daily inheritance of the people. And above all, a Burkina Faso where memory guides destiny, where Sankara's dream is not buried, but resurrected. The lesson, my brothers and sisters, is plain. Development is not only about building bridges of steel, it is about building bridges of spirit. For without unity, without history, without a soul, no nation can stand. Can a mausoleum of memory become the cornerstone of a new future? That is the question I put before you. Tell us in the comments, what legacy must Africa build today to secure tomorrow for our children? My brothers and sisters, we have walked through 10 mighty works. We have seen the atom split to bring light, the gold refined to bring wealth, the cement poured to build homes, the roads stretched like veins, the airport opening to the world, the hospital healing, the dam flowing, the vehicles rolling, the satellite watching, and the mausoleum remembering. But before we close, let us reflect on the journey. The anger of the past. For too long, Africa was robbed of its strength. Our minerals dug out, our wealth exported, our people told to wait. Nigeria with oil but no refineries. Ghana with gold but no processing. Kenya with tourism but no manufacturing. The story was the same. Promises without delivery, governments without vision. We have every right to be angry. The regret of lost time. And let us be honest, anger is not enough. There is regret. Regret for the decades wasted. Regret for the children who studied by candlelight. Regret for the mothers who carried water on their heads when dams could have been built. Regret for the sick who crossed borders, seeking cures that could have been found at home. Africa lost years it can never regain. The hope of today. But my family here is the miracle. In only 3 years, under the leadership of the Burkina Faso president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, more has been built than in decades of empty words. This is not theory, it is testimony. This is not fantasy, it is fact. And it resounds not only in Ouagadougou but across the continent. Africa can rise when Africa chooses to rise. And mark this, the world has heard the Ibrahim Traoré speech that declared Africa would stand tall. And they are watching. Some with fear, some with admiration, but watching all the same. The call to the future. So I leave you with this, my brothers and sisters. What future shall Africa build? Will we settle for fragments? Or will we pursue integration? Will we let memory fade? Or will we build on Sankara's dream? If you believe Africa must rise on its own terms, lift your voice, subscribe, share, and comment your vision. Because Africa Rising Now is not only a channel, it is a covenant of hope, a testimony of faith, and a call to action. For when the Burkina Faso president lifts his hand to build, it is not only Burkina Faso that rises, it is Africa. It is us. And the time is now.